The ghost appeared the moment Lily signed the inheritance papers. 1 second, the lawyer's office was empty except for her and Mr. Harrison reviewing documents. The next, a man stood by the window, tall, devastatingly handsome, and radiating fury so intense the temperature dropped 20 degrees. "You," he snarled, his voice echoing with centuries of rage. "Another Kane. Come to claim what your family stole." Lily's pen clattered to the desk. "I can see you. Of course you can see me. You're bound to the curse now, just like every Kane before you." He moved closer, and Lily realized she could see through him, translucent, shimmering, utterly impossible. "Your great-great-great-grandfather murdered me, stole my pack's territory, and bound my spirit to haunt his bloodline for eternity. And now you're the last Kane alive, which means you're stuck with me until one of us breaks." Mr. Harrison was still talking, oblivious to the vengeful ghost now standing inches from Lily. "The estate includes the ancestral home in the Cascade Mountains, approximately 500 acres of land, and all assets totaling." "How long?" Lily interrupted, her eyes never leaving the ghost. "How long have you been haunting my family?" Harrison blinked, confused. "I'm sorry. Not you." Lily stood abruptly. "I need a moment. Hey there, supernatural romance lovers. Welcome to a story that's about to get wild. A cursed inheritance, a vengeful ghost, and a woman who refuses to be another victim? Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments. I love seeing where my amazing listeners are tuning in. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now because Lily just inherited a haunted estate, bound herself to a 200-year-old ghost, and werewolves are already sending death threats. You do not want to miss what happens next. She fled to the bathroom, and the ghost followed, walking through the closed door like it didn't exist. 200 years, he said, answering her question. 200 years of watching Kane descendants live in the home that should have been mine. 200 years of being unable to move on, unable to rest, bound to torment the family that destroyed everything I loved. Lily gripped the sink, staring at her reflection, and his, visible over her shoulder despite being a ghost. He looked maybe 30, with dark hair, sharp features, and eyes that burned with supernatural fire even in death. "What's your name?" she asked. "Zane. Alpha of the Nightshade Pack. Or I was, before your ancestor Benjamin Kane murdered me and stole our sacred territory." His expression was bitter. "And you're Lily Kane, last of a dying bloodline. 28 years old, working as a historical researcher in Seattle, no living relatives, and absolutely no idea what you've just inherited. How do you know all that?" "I've been watching your family for 2 centuries. I know everything about every Kane who's ever lived in that cursed house." Zane's form flickered with anger. "And now you're bound to me. You'll see me constantly, hear me constantly, feel my presence every waking moment. Just like your grandmother did. Just like your father did before the curse drove him mad and he..." "Don't." Lily's voice cracked. Her father's suicide 10 years ago was still an open wound. "Don't talk about him. Then don't pretend you can ignore me." Zane moved impossibly close, his ghostly presence making her skin prickle. "You signed those papers. You accepted the inheritance. And the curse activates the moment a Kane claims ownership of the land. So congratulations, Lily. You're stuck with me until you die. Or until you do what no Kane has managed in 200 years, break the curse and set me free." "How?" "I don't know. If I knew, I'd have told one of your ancestors decades ago." His laugh was harsh. "All I know is that I'm bound to the land your family stole, unable to leave, unable to rest, forced to watch generations of Kanes profit from my pack's death. And you're the latest victim of your family's sins." Lily's hands were shaking. This was insane. Ghosts weren't real. Curses weren't real. She was a historian, she dealt in facts, evidence, documented truth. Not vengeful spirits and generational curses. But she could see him. Could feel the cold radiating from his translucent form. Could hear the raw pain beneath his anger. "My grandmother," she said quietly. "She died in that house. The official report said natural causes, but she was 43 and healthy, Zane finished. The curse killed her. Slowly, methodically, driving her insane until her heart gave out from the stress. His expression shifted, something like regret flickering across his features. I didn't want that. I never wanted to drive anyone mad. But the curse doesn't care what I want. It just feeds on Kane's suffering, using my rage as fuel. Then we break it. We find a way to end this. Lily straightened, her historian's mind already working. You said Benjamin Kane murdered you and stole your pack's territory. There has to be documentation, evidence, something that explains how the curse was created. You think I haven't tried that? 200 years of haunting Kanes, and not one of them has successfully broken the curse. That's because they probably tried alone. Running from you, hiding from you, instead of working with you. Lily met his ghostly gaze. But I'm a researcher. I solve historical mysteries for a living. And Zane, you're the primary source, you lived through whatever happened. Together, we might actually figure this out. For the first time since appearing, Zane looked uncertain. You want to help me? After I just told you I've been tormenting your family for 2 centuries? You said the curse uses your rage as fuel. Which means you're as much a victim as my family. Lily took a breath. And I'm not going to let some 200-year-old curse destroy me the way it destroyed my father and grandmother. So yes, I'll help you. We'll research, investigate, and find a way to break this curse before it kills me too. Zane stared at her for a long moment. Then, impossibly, he smiled. You're different. Every other Kane ran screaming or tried to exorcise me or just slowly went insane from the haunting. But you're actually proposing we work together. Do I have a choice? Not really. The curse binds you to the land. If you try to leave, sell the property, or ignore the inheritance, the haunting intensifies until it drives you mad anyway. His smile faded. But Lily, you should know something. The curse doesn't just haunt you. It attracts other supernatural threats. The land is soaked in old magic, old blood. Things that should stay buried are drawn to it. Your ancestors dealt with werewolf attacks, vampire incursions, even a Wendigo once. Werewolves are real too. Very real. And my pack, what's left of it, still exists. Scattered, diminished, but alive. When they learn a Kane has claimed the ancestral land. Zane's expression was grim. They'll come for you. Because to them, you're the descendant of the man who slaughtered their alpha and stole their territory. And werewolves have long memories. Lily's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, stay away from the Nightshade land. Final warning. She showed it to Zane. Too late. They already know. Then we need to move fast. Get to the estate, search for answers, and break this curse before my old pack decides revenge is more important than mercy. Zane's form flickered with urgency. And Lily? I know I'm supposed to hate you. You're a Kane. My family's murderer's blood runs in your veins. But right now, you're the only chance I have at freedom. So I'll help you survive this. Even if it means protecting the descendant of the man who destroyed everything I loved. Why would you protect me? Because the curse binds us. If you die, I'm stuck haunting this land for eternity, waiting for another Kane who might never come. But if we break it together, if we actually succeed where 200 years of attempts have failed, maybe I can finally rest. Finally be free. His ghostly eyes held hers. So yes, I'll protect you. Not out of kindness. Out of desperation. Good enough for me. Lily grabbed her bag. Let's go see what I've inherited. The drive to the Cascade Mountains took 3 hours, with Zane's ghost sitting in the passenger seat offering increasingly disturbing commentary. Your great-grandfather tried to burn the house down in 1953. Didn't work. The curse protected it. Thanks, that's not ominous at all. Your aunt, your father's sister, lasted 2 weeks before she fled screaming. Signed the property over to your father and never spoke to the family again. Also not helping. And there's a graveyard on the property. 13 graves. My pack members, murdered by Benjamin Kane on the same night he killed me. Zane's voice was hollow. He buried them without ceremony, without honor. Just threw bodies in the ground and built his fortune on top of their bones. Lily's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I'm sorry. For what he did. For what my family did. Don't apologize for sins you didn't commit. Just help me break this curse so their deaths mean something. The estate appeared as the sun set, a massive Victorian mansion that looked like something from a Gothic novel. Dark wood, towering spires, windows that seemed to watch as Lily's car approached. And surrounding it, 500 acres of pristine forest that practically hummed with old magic. Home sweet home, Zane said bitterly. Lily parked and stepped out, and immediately felt it. The weight of the curse, pressing down like a physical force. The air was thick with supernatural energy, and somewhere in the distance, she heard howling. Wolves, Zane confirmed. My pack. Or their descendants. They patrol the borders, keeping humans out. But you're not just any human. You're a Kane. And that makes you enemy number one. Great. Just what I needed. Lily approached the mansion, keys in hand. Any advice for surviving the night? Don't wander into the woods alone. Don't trust anything that seems too convenient. And whatever you do, don't go into the basement without me. Why not? Because that's where Benjamin performed the ritual that bound me. Where he killed me and 13 of my pack to steal our power and claim this land as his own. Zane's form solidified slightly, rage making him more visible. It's the heart of the curse. And the most dangerous place on the property. Lily unlocked the front door, and it swung open with an ominous creak. Inside, the mansion was exactly as disturbing as she'd expected. Dust-covered furniture, portraits of grim-faced ancestors, and an atmosphere so oppressive it was hard to breathe. But there was something else, warmth. Not physical warmth, but the sense that the house was alive, aware, watching. The curse lives in the walls, Zane explained. Feeds on the land's magic and the blood spilled here. It's why the house has survived fires, floods, and 2 centuries of neglect. The curse keeps it standing. Then breaking the curse might destroy the house. Probably. But would that really be a loss? Lily moved through rooms filled with her family's history, and with every step, she felt the weight of inherited guilt. Her ancestors had built their wealth on murder. Had stolen land, killed innocents, and cursed themselves in the process. And now she was the last one left to fix it. Zane, she said, stopping in what looked like a study. If we break this curse, if we succeed, what happens to you? Do you just disappear? I move on. Finally rest. Maybe reincarnate, maybe just cease to exist. I don't know. He appeared beside her, translucent but present. Why? Because you've been stuck here for 200 years. You deserve peace. But also. Lily hesitated. You're the only one who knows the truth about what happened. About your pack, about the murder, about everything. If you disappear, that history disappears with you. So what are you suggesting? That before we break the curse, we document everything. Record your story, write down the truth, make sure the Nightshade Pack's memory is preserved. She met his ghostly eyes. You deserve to be remembered as more than just a vengeful spirit. You were an alpha. A leader. A person who was murdered for greed. Zane stared at her, and for the first time, the rage in his expression softened into something else. You really mean that? I'm a historian. Preserving truth is literally my job. Lily pulled out her laptop. So let's start from the beginning. Tell me about the Nightshade Pack. About who you were before Benjamin Kane destroyed everything. And as Lily settled in to record 200 years of hidden history, as Zane began to speak about the pack he'd lost and the life that had been stolen, neither of them noticed the shadows gathering at the edge of the property. The werewolves were coming. And they had no intention of letting another Kane live on stolen land. Zane's story took hours to tell, and with every word, Lily felt the weight of her family's crimes growing heavier. The Nightshade Pack claimed this territory for 3 generations, Zane said, his ghostly form pacing the study as he spoke. My grandfather established it after the Great Migration, when werewolf packs were being hunted by humans who discovered silver weapons. This land was sacred, rich in natural magic, protected by ancient wards, perfect for wolves who needed safety. Lily typed rapidly, documenting everything. How many were in your pack? 53, at our peak. Families, elders, children just learning to shift. We lived in harmony with the few human settlements nearby. Traded with them, protected them from other supernatural threats. We weren't monsters hiding in the woods. We were a community. His voice roughened with emotion. And then Benjamin Kane arrived. What did he want? Gold. There were rumors of deposits in these mountains, and Kane was a prospector willing to do anything for wealth. When he discovered our territory, he saw opportunity. Sacred werewolf land was naturally rich in resources, the magic made everything more fertile, more valuable. Zane's form flickered with rage. He offered to buy the land. I refused. It wasn't for sale. So he decided to take it by force. How did he manage to kill an entire pack? You were werewolves, stronger, faster than humans. Silver bullets and a witch. Zane's expression turned bitter. Kane hired a dark practitioner named Mara Cross. She knew old magic, forbidden rituals that could bind supernatural beings. On the autumn equinox, when our power was at its peak, they attacked. Mara's magic paralyzed most of the pack, and Kane's men slaughtered them with silver. 13 of us, the strongest, including me, were dragged to the basement for a ritual. Lily's stomach turned. The ritual that created the curse. Kane wanted the land's power for himself. Wanted to ensure no other pack could claim it. So Mara performed a blood sacrifice, murdered 13 alphas and bound our spirits to the territory. But I was the pack leader, so my binding was stronger. Instead of just haunting the land, I was bound to the Kane bloodline specifically. Cursed to torment every descendant until the family line died out or someone broke the curse. Did Mara survive the ritual? No. The backlash killed her. Blood magic that powerful always has a cost. Zane moved to the window, staring out at the darkening forest. Kane got exactly what he wanted, land no other werewolf could claim, wealth from the resources he mined, and a family legacy built on murder. But the curse ensured he'd never enjoy it. He went mad within 5 years, killed by his own son who then inherited both the land and my haunting. And the cycle continued for 200 years, Lily said softly. Until you. The last Kane. Zane turned back to her. Your father tried to break the curse, you know. Spent years researching, consulting experts, attempting rituals. But nothing worked. And the constant failure, the constant haunting, it destroyed him. Lily's eyes burned with unshed tears. He never told me about any of this. I grew up thinking he was just depressed, mentally ill. I didn't know about the curse until I read his will. He was protecting you. If you'd known about the inheritance, you might have tried to claim it sooner. He wanted you to have a normal life for as long as possible. Some protection. I still ended up here. Because you're the last Kane. The curse wouldn't let the bloodline escape. Zane's ghostly eyes held unexpected sympathy. I'm sorry, Lily. If I could release you from this, I would. But the magic that binds me is older and stronger than either of us. We're both prisoners. Lily closed her laptop, too emotionally drained to type anymore. You said the curse feeds on your rage. What if you stopped being angry? Would that weaken it? I've tried. 200 years of trying to let go, to forgive, to find peace. But the curse doesn't allow it. Every time I'm close to acceptance, something triggers the rage again. A Kane profiting from my pack's death. Another innocent life ruined. The curse needs my fury to sustain itself, so it ensures I never run out. His form dimmed with exhaustion. I'm as much a victim as you are. Before Lily could respond, glass shattered in the dining room. She jumped to her feet, and Zane materialized instantly in a protective stance, despite being a ghost who theoretically couldn't protect anyone. "Werewolves," he said grimly. "They're here." Lily grabbed the only weapon she could find, a fireplace poker, and moved cautiously toward the dining room. Through the broken window, she saw figures in the darkness. At least a dozen, circling the house with predatory intent. Then one stepped into the light from the porch. He was massive, 6'4", built like a warrior, with silver-streaked dark hair and eyes that blazed amber even in human form. Authority radiated from him like heat, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute command. "Lily Kane. Come out. We need to discuss your presence on Nightshade territory." "That's Alpha Cole," Zane said quietly. "He leads what remains of my pack. They're descendants, mostly. He's powerful, tactical, and has every reason to want you dead." "Great. Any advice?" "Don't show fear. Werewolves respect strength, and Cole particularly respects weakness." Zane's form solidified slightly. "And Lily, no matter what he says, don't invite him inside. The house is protected by the curse. As long as you're inside, they can't physically harm you. But if you let them in." "Understood." Lily moved to the broken window, careful to stay inside the house. "Alpha Cole. I'm Lily Kane. And I'm not leaving." Cole's expression was cold. "Then you're signing your death warrant. This land was stolen from the Nightshade Pack through murder. You have no legal or moral claim to it. My ancestors' crimes aren't mine to answer for. Blood guilt passes down through generations. You benefit from what Benjamin Kane stole. That makes you complicit." Cole moved closer, and Lily saw the barely restrained violence in his posture. "But I'm not unreasonable. I'll give you one chance, sign the property over to the Nightshade Pack, walk away with your life, and we'll consider the debt partially paid. And if I refuse? Then we take the land by force and bury you in the graveyard beside your murderous ancestor." Lily felt Zane's ghostly presence beside her, lending her courage she didn't actually feel. "I can't sign it over. The curse binds me to this land. If I try to leave or give up ownership, it intensifies until it kills me. Trust me, I'd love to just hand you the keys and go back to Seattle. But I'm trapped here." Cole's eyes narrowed. "The curse. Zane's curse. You know about it? Every Nightshade knows the story. Our murdered Alpha, bound in torment to haunt the family that destroyed him. It's a cautionary tale about the cost of trusting humans." His gaze seemed to pierce right through her, and Lily wondered if he could see Zane's ghost standing beside her. "Is he here now? Can you see him?" "Yes." "Then tell him this, the pack hasn't forgotten. We've spent 2 centuries rebuilding what Benjamin Kane destroyed, and we're finally strong enough to reclaim our sacred land. If his curse is the only thing standing between us and justice, then we'll find a way to break it. And when we do, Lily Kane, you'll have nothing protecting you from our revenge." "We're trying to break the curse," Lily said desperately. "That's why I came here. To research, to find answers, to free Zane and restore the land to your pack. I'm not your enemy. You're a Kane. That makes you our enemy by definition." Cole turned to leave, then paused. "You have 3 days. 3 days to prove you're actually trying to break the curse and not just hiding behind it. If you can't show real progress by the next full moon, we attack. Curse or no curse, we're done waiting for justice." He vanished into the forest, his pack following like shadows. Lily collapsed against the wall, her hands shaking. 3 days. How am I supposed to break a 200-year-old curse in 3 days? "You can't," Zane said bluntly. "Not alone." "But Lily," Cole mentioned something important, "he knows about the curse in detail. Which means the Nightshade Pack has been researching it for generations, same as your family. They might have information you don't. You want me to work with the werewolves who just threatened to kill me? I want you to survive. And I want to be free." Zane's ghostly form moved closer. "Cole's ultimatum is actually an opportunity. 3 days to prove we're serious about breaking the curse. If we can show real progress, maybe, just maybe, they'll give us more time. Maybe even help. Why would they help? Because breaking the curse frees me, which means I can finally rest. And once I'm gone, the protective magic binding this land to the Kane family dissolves. The property could legally revert to the Nightshade Pack. Zane's expression was calculating. It's in their best interest to help us succeed. Lily pulled out her phone, checking the date. 3 days until the full moon. 72 hours to make progress on a curse that's defeated everyone for 2 centuries. She looked at Zane. Where do we start? The basement. Where the ritual was performed. If there's any physical evidence of how the curse was created, it'll be there. His form flickered with remembered pain. But Lily, that place is dangerous. The magic is strongest there, and the curse feeds on fear. If you go down there unprepared, then prepare me. You've been bound to this curse for 200 years. You know how it works better than anyone. Lily straightened, pushing down her terror. And I'm a researcher. Danger doesn't stop me from finding truth. Your father said something similar, right before the curse drove him to suicide. The words hit like a slap. Lily took a breath. I'm not my father. I have something he didn't, a primary source who lived through the original crime. You can tell me what to look for, what to avoid, how to interpret what we find. Together, we have a better chance than any Kane before me. Zane studied her for a long moment. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Can't it be both? Despite everything, he smiled. All right, Lily Kane. Let's go disturb some very old, very angry magic. But first, we need protection. What kind of protection? Salt circles, iron filings, blessed objects if we can find them. The basement is saturated with dark magic from the blood ritual. We need every defense possible. Zane moved through the house, pointing out supplies left by previous Kanes. Your ancestors learned the hard way that you don't enter that space unprotected. They spent the next hour preparing, drawing salt circles, gathering old iron tools, lighting candles blessed by priests long dead. It felt like preparing for battle, and in a way, it was. They were about to confront the source of 2 centuries of suffering. Finally, they stood before the basement door. It was old oak, reinforced with iron bands, and carved with symbols Lily didn't recognize. The air around it felt wrong, thick, cold, hostile. Last chance to back out, Zane said quietly. Not a chance. Lily gripped the door handle. We're ending this curse. Starting now. She pulled the door open, and darkness rushed out like a living thing. The stairs descended into absolute blackness, and from below, Lily heard whispers. Not words, just the echo of pain and rage and death. The curse, aware that intruders were coming. Stay close, Zane said, his ghostly form the only light in the darkness. And Lily? Whatever you see down there, whatever you hear, remember it's not real. The curse will use your fears against you. Don't let it win. I won't. They descended together into the heart of the curse, into the place where 13 werewolves had died and 1 had been bound in torment for eternity. And with every step, Lily felt the weight of 200 years of suffering pressing down on her, testing her, trying to break her the way it had broken every Kane before her. But Lily Kane wasn't like her ancestors. She didn't want to run from the truth or hide from her family's crimes. She wanted to face them head-on. To document them. To make them right. Even if it killed her. The basement was a nightmare made physical. Lily's flashlight beam cut through darkness so thick it seemed to resist illumination. The walls were stone, stained with something that looked disturbingly like old blood. And carved into every surface were symbols, twisted, wrong runes that made her eyes hurt to look at directly. This is where Mara performed the ritual, Zane said, his ghostly form providing eerie blue light. 13 werewolves chained in a circle, bleeding onto the floor while she chanted in a language older than civilization. Lily forced herself to move deeper into the space, her historian's instincts overriding her terror. In the center of the room was a raised stone platform covered in more symbols. And around it, iron chains still embedded in the floor. "These chains," she said, kneeling to examine them. "They're covered in silver. To bind werewolves. Silver burns us, weakens our healing, prevents shifting." Zane's voice was hollow. "I was chained there." He pointed to the platform center. "Alpha's position. Mara killed me last, using my death to seal the curse that had already consumed my pack." Lily pulled out her phone, photographing everything. The symbols, the chains, the platform. As a historian, she knew documentation was critical. But as she worked, she felt the curse responding to their presence. The temperature dropped further. The whispers grew louder. And shadows began moving at the edge of her vision, figures that weren't quite there, replaying deaths from 200 years ago. "Lily," Zane said urgently. "The curse is activating. It knows we're trying to understand it. Let it activate. We need to know how it works." Lily moved to the walls, examining the carved symbols more closely. "These runes, they're not random. They're a formula. Instructions for the binding ritual. Can you read them?" "Some. I specialized in occult historical texts during my graduate research. This looks like a combination of Old Norse, Celtic Druidic script, and something else I don't recognize." She traced one particularly complex symbol. "This one means bind. This one means blood. And this." She paused, frowning. "This one means choice." "Choice?" Zane moved closer. "What does that have to do with a binding curse?" "I don't know. But it's repeated throughout the ritual formula. Almost like." Lily pulled out her notebook, sketching the symbols and their relationships. "Almost like the curse requires active choice to maintain it. Not just the original choice to create it, but ongoing choices to keep it bound." "Whose choice? Mine? The Kane's?" "Both, maybe." Lily's mind was racing, connecting historical patterns. Blood curses work on consent. The victim's suffering sustains them, but only if the victim keeps choosing to suffer. If they let go, forgive, move on, the curse weakens. "I told you, I've tried to forgive. The curse won't let me." "But what if forgiveness isn't the choice that matters?" Lily turned to face him. "Zane, what if the curse doesn't need your forgiveness? What if it needs your acceptance? Of what happened, of your death, of the fact that revenge won't bring your pack back." Zane's form flickered violently. "You're asking me to accept that Benjamin Kane murdered 53 innocent people and faced no justice? I'm asking if holding on to that rage for 200 years has made anything better. Has it brought your pack back? Has it stopped the Kanes from suffering? Has it given you peace?" Lily stepped closer to his ghostly form. "Or has it just trapped you in an endless cycle of pain that serves no one? Easy for you to say. Your family wasn't slaughtered. My father killed himself because of this curse. My grandmother went mad. Every Kane for 200 years has suffered." Lily's voice was firm but gentle. "And yes, they deserved consequences for Benjamin's crime. But Zane, at what point does punishment become just more suffering? When does justice become vengeance that hurts everyone?" The basement trembled. Not physically, magically. The curse was responding to their conversation, and it wasn't happy. "Careful," Zane warned. "The curse doesn't like being questioned." "Too bad. I'm a historian. Questioning things is my job." Lily returned to photographing symbols, but her mind was working on a theory. The curse requires ongoing choice to maintain itself. Your choice to stay angry. The Kane's choice to keep claiming the land despite knowing its history. What if breaking it isn't about performing a counter-ritual? What if it's about both sides choosing to let go? The Nightshade Pack will never let go. They want justice. They want their land back. Which they'd get if the curse broke and the property reverted to them. Lily pulled up the legal documents on her phone. "According to inheritance law, if I die without heirs and without a will designating ownership, contested property with indigenous claims can be returned to the original inhabitants. The Nightshade Pack could file a claim. The door at the top of the stairs slammed shut. Both Lily and Zane spun toward the sound. Then the lights went out, even Lily's flashlight died, and Zane's ghostly glow dimmed to almost nothing. "That's not the curse," Zane said, his voice tight. "That's something else." Footsteps on the stairs. Heavy, deliberate, accompanied by a growl that made Lily's blood run cold. A werewolf. In the house. Which should have been impossible, the curse protected the interior from supernatural intrusion. Unless someone had been invited in. Lily's mind raced back to the broken window. She'd been so focused on Alpha Cole's threat that she hadn't thought about what breaking the window might mean for the house's protections. The werewolf descended into the basement, its eyes glowing amber in the darkness. Not Cole, this wolf was younger, leaner, and radiating barely controlled aggression. "You shouldn't be here," it growled, its voice distorted by partial shift. "Kane blood on Nightshade land. It's an insult that demands answer." "I'm trying to break the curse," Lily said, forcing her voice to stay steady. "To free the land and return it to your pack." "Lies. Kanes always lie." The werewolf moved closer, claws extended. "Alpha Cole said 3 days. But I say we end this now. One dead Kane, and the bloodline dies. The curse fails, and we reclaim what's ours." "Killing me won't break the curse," Lily said desperately. "It'll just bind Zane here forever, waiting for a Kane who'll never come. Your Alpha will lose his chance at getting the land back legally. Don't care. Justice matters more than law." The werewolf lunged. Lily threw herself sideways, but she was human, too slow to avoid supernatural speed. Claws raked across her arm, drawing blood, and pain exploded through her nervous system. Then Zane was there. His ghostly form blazed with power, solidifying in ways Lily had never seen. He positioned himself between her and the werewolf, and when he spoke, his voice carried the authority of an alpha who'd led 53 wolves. "Stand down, Nathan." The werewolf froze. "Alpha Zane? But you're dead." "A ghost." "Dead, yes. But still bound to this land, which means I still have some authority here." Zane's form was more solid now, almost corporeal. "And I'm ordering you to stand down. Lily Kane is under my protection. She's a Kane. Her ancestor murdered you. And she's trying to fix that. Trying to break the curse and free me. Something no one else has attempted in 200 years. Zane's ghostly eyes blazed. "Nathan, I know you want revenge. The whole pack wants revenge. But killing Lily accomplishes nothing except trapping me here forever. Is that what you want? Your Alpha's spirit suffering for eternity because you couldn't control your rage?" Nathan's wolf form flickered, caught between human reason and animal fury. "Alpha Cole said. Alpha Cole said 3 days. It's been 3 hours." Zane's voice was firm. "Go back to the pack. Tell Cole that I'm working with Lily. Tell him the curse might actually be breakable, but only if both sides choose to let go of 200 years of anger. And tell him." Zane paused. "Tell him I forgive him for what he couldn't prevent. The new pack isn't responsible for the old pack's death. And holding on to that guilt isn't honoring our memory, it's just spreading the suffering." Nathan stared at Zane's ghost, clearly struggling. Finally, his form shifted back to human, a young man, maybe 25, with tears streaming down his face. "We've been taught to hate the Kanes our whole lives," he said hoarsely. "Taught that you were suffering because of them, that justice required their elimination. And now you're saying, what? That we should just forgive? I'm saying that forgiveness isn't about excusing the crime. It's about refusing to let the crime define you forever." Zane's form flickered with emotion. "Benjamin Kane murdered my pack. That's historical fact, and it was evil. But Nathan, I've spent 200 years as a ghost fueled by rage, and it hasn't brought anyone back. Hasn't made anything better. It's just created more pain, more death, more suffering that serves no purpose. So we let the Kanes win. We let ourselves heal." Zane looked at Lily, then back at Nathan. "This Kane is different. She's trying to make it right. And if we kill her for her ancestors' sins, we become no better than Benjamin, punishing the innocent for crimes they didn't commit. Nathan's hands were shaking. I need to talk to Alpha Cole. Do that. And Nathan? Thank you for listening. The young werewolf fled up the stairs, and moments later, Lily heard the front door slam. She collapsed against the wall, clutching her bleeding arm. That was too close. Your arm. Zane knelt beside her, his ghostly form still more solid than usual. The curse is healing it. Lily looked down and saw that he was right. The claw marks were closing, tissue knitting back together with supernatural speed. Why would the curse heal me? Because it needs you alive. You're the last Kane. If you die, the curse loses its anchor. Zane's expression was conflicted. But Lily, what I said to Nathan. I meant it. About forgiveness, about letting go. I've been holding on to rage for so long that I forgot what it felt like to choose peace. The curse won't let you choose peace. You said it yourself. But what if I've been wrong about that? What if the curse only has as much power as I give it? Zane's ghostly hand hovered near her healed arm. When Nathan attacked you, I became more solid than I've been in 200 years. Because I chose to protect instead of haunt. Chose to defend instead of torment. And the curse responded by giving me more physical presence. Lily's mind was racing. The choice rune. It's not about the curse requiring choice to maintain itself. It's about the curse being shaped by the choices of those bound to it. Your choices determine whether you're a vengeful spirit or a protective presence. And the Kane's choices determine whether the land is a prison or a home. So breaking the curse requires both of us to choose differently. You choose to let go of vengeance. I choose to honor the truth of what happened instead of running from it. Lily stood, wincing despite the healed wound. And together, we choose to work with the Nightshade Pack instead of against them. That's a theory. Not proven. Then let's test it. Lily pulled out her phone, checking the symbols she'd photographed. These runes create the binding. But runes can be reversed, rewritten, if you know the original language. And Zane, you were there when Mara performed the ritual. Do you remember what she said? The exact words? Zane closed his eyes, and when he spoke, his voice was pained with memory. She said, blood calls to blood, death binds to death. Let the guilty suffer what they wrought, and let the innocent pay for sins not their own. Chain the wolf to stolen ground, chain the thief to haunted halls. Only when choice unmakes what choice has made shall peace return to troubled souls. Only when choice unmakes what choice has made, Lily repeated. That's the key. The curse was created by choices, Benjamin's choice to murder, Mara's choice to perform dark magic, your pack's involuntary sacrifice. To break it, we need opposite choices. Mercy instead of vengeance. Truth instead of lies. Cooperation instead of conflict. And how do we convince the Nightshade Pack to make those choices? They've spent 2 centuries wanting revenge. By giving them what they actually want, their land back and their alpha's peace. Lily grabbed her notebook, already writing. I'm going to draft a legal document. Transferring ownership of this property to the Nightshade Pack, contingent on the curse being broken. And in return, they help us break it instead of trying to kill me. That's incredibly risky. If they agree and then the curse doesn't break. Then I die having tried to make things right. Which is better than dying while running from the truth. Lily met his ghostly eyes. Zane, I know I'm asking a lot. But you said you wanted to be free. This might be the only way. Zane was quiet for a long moment, his translucent form flickering with internal conflict. If we do this, if we actually break the curse, I move on. I won't be here to make sure the pack treats you fairly. Won't be able to protect you. I'll survive. I'm tougher than I look. That's not what I'm worried about. Zane's expression was vulnerable in a way Lily had never seen. I've spent 200 years hating your family. And now, after 3 hours with you, I find myself wanting to protect you. Wanting to know you. Wanting. He trailed off. This is a complication I didn't anticipate. Lily felt heat rising to her cheeks. You're a ghost. A fact I'm acutely aware of. His ghostly smile was rueful. But curses do strange things to souls. And apparently, mine has decided that the last Kane, the one trying to free me, is someone worth caring about. Despite every reason not to. That's the curse messing with your emotions. Is it? Or is it just the first time in 2 centuries I've met someone who sees me as more than a vengeful spirit? Zane moved closer, and Lily felt the cold emanating from his form. Lily Kane, you're brave and brilliant and absolutely reckless. And I'm starting to realize that breaking this curse means losing the only person who's ever tried to understand me. That's a price I'm not sure I want to pay. You don't have a choice. The curse always comes back to choice. Zane's hand reached toward her face, passing through it like mist but leaving cold tingles. What if I choose to stay, even if we break the binding? What if I choose to remain as a ghost, bound to this land but free of the rage, just so I can keep talking to the fascinating historian who isn't afraid of me? That would be incredibly stupid. Agreed. But apparently, I've developed a taste for stupidity. His ghostly eyes held hers. Break the curse, Lily. Free me from the rage. But ask me to stay anyway. As a choice instead of a compulsion. As a companion instead of a tormentor. Before Lily could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Alpha Cole wants to meet. Tomorrow at dawn. Neutral ground. Come alone and unarmed, or don't come at all. The werewolves want to negotiate, Lily said, showing Zane the message. Or it's a trap. Probably both. She typed a response, I'll be there. And I'm bringing a proposal that benefits everyone. Tomorrow, we convince the Nightshade Pack to work with us. Or we die trying. Such optimism. I'm a historian. We're professionally optimistic about finding truth in impossible situations. Lily headed for the stairs, exhausted and overwhelmed. Come on. We have a proposal to write and about 4 hours of sleep to not get before meeting with werewolves who want me dead. As they climbed out of the cursed basement, neither noticed the shadows gathering in the corners. The curse wasn't finished testing them. And tomorrow's meeting with the Nightshade Pack would be the least of their problems. Because something else had been disturbed by their presence in the ritual space. Something that had been sleeping for 200 years. And it was waking up hungry. Dawn arrived too quickly, bringing with it a fog that rolled through the forest like something alive. Lily stood at the edge of the property, clutching the legal documents she'd spent all night drafting. Beside her, Zane's ghostly form was more visible in the early morning light, translucent but present, his expression tense. You don't have to do this, he said for the 3rd time. We could find another way. There is no other way. We have 3 days, and we've already used 1. Lily tucked the documents into her bag. Besides, Alpha Cole agreed to neutral ground. If he wanted me dead, he'd have just attacked the house again. Nathan attacked the house. And you stopped him. Which proves you have more power than either of us thought. Lily looked at Zane's solidified form. You're getting stronger. More real. Why? I don't know. The curse is changing. Zane's ghostly hand flexed, almost corporeal. Ever since you arrived, ever since we started working together instead of fighting, it's like the binding is shifting. Becoming something else. Before Lily could respond, wolves emerged from the fog. Alpha Cole led them, 7 werewolves in human form, all radiating controlled violence. But it was the woman beside him who caught Lily's attention. She was maybe 40, with auburn hair and eyes that held ancient wisdom. I'm Ava, the woman said. Cole's beta and the pack's historian. You must be Lily Kane. I am. Lily forced her voice steady despite her fear. Thank you for meeting with me. Don't thank us yet. We haven't decided whether to kill you or hear you out. Cole's amber eyes shifted to Zane's ghost. Alpha Zane. It's been a long time. 200 years, Zane agreed. You've done well with the pack, Cole. Better than I could have hoped after the massacre. We survived. Rebuilt. Grew stronger. Cole's expression was unreadable. But we never forgot what the Kanes took from us. Never stopped planning to reclaim our land. Which is why I'm here, Lily said, pulling out her documents. I'm offering to transfer ownership of the property to the Nightshade Pack. Legally, completely, with no strings attached. Silence. The werewolves exchanged shocked glances. What's the catch? Ava asked suspiciously. The catch is that the transfer can only happen if the curse is broken first. As long as I'm bound to the land, I legally can't sign it away. The curse prevents it. Lily spread the documents on a fallen log. But if we work together to break the curse, you get your land back, Zane gets to rest, and I get to leave with my life. Everyone wins. Except Benjamin Kane's crimes go unpunished, Cole said. Benjamin Kane died mad and alone 180 years ago. Punishing me won't change that. Lily met his gaze. But what will change things is choosing a different path. Your pack has spent 2 centuries defined by what was taken from you. What if instead, you were defined by what you chose to build? By reclaiming your land through cooperation instead of violence? You're asking us to forgive. I'm asking you to choose peace over vengeance. There's a difference. Lily pulled out her laptop, showing them the research she'd compiled. I've documented everything Zane told me about the original massacre. Names, dates, what your pack was like before Benjamin Kane destroyed it. I'm planning to publish this research, make sure the Nightshade Pack's history is remembered, that your ancestors are honored as victims of genocide rather than forgotten as casualties of expansion. Ava moved closer, reading the document. You researched all this? Documented our history? I'm a historian. Preserving truth is what I do. Lily's voice was passionate. Your pack deserves to be remembered. What happened to them was murder, and Benjamin Kane should be recognized as the monster he was. I can't change the past, but I can make sure it's not forgotten. And if we agree to help you break the curse, Cole said slowly, you transfer the land and publish this research? Yes. Full ownership, with the condition that the graveyard remains protected and accessible for memorial purposes. Your pack gets its sacred land back. Zane gets peace. And the truth gets told. Cole looked at his beta, some silent communication passing between them. Then he turned to Zane. What do you think, Alpha? Is she sincere, or is this another Kane deception? She's sincere, Zane said without hesitation. Lily has spent the past day trying to understand what happened, trying to make it right. She's not responsible for Benjamin's crimes, and she's not trying to profit from them. She just wants to break the curse before it kills her. The curse has killed every Kane who's claimed this land, Ava observed. Why should you be different? Because I'm not running from it. I'm facing it head-on, with Zane's help. Lily gestured to the ghost. Every other Kane tried to fight the curse alone, or tried to ignore it, or tried to banish Zane. I'm working with him. And that changes everything. Show us, Cole demanded. Prove the curse is actually weakening. Give us evidence that this cooperation isn't just prolonging the inevitable. Lily looked at Zane. Can you touch me? Actually touch me, not just pass through. I don't know. I've never tried since. He extended his hand toward hers. For 200 years, Zane's ghostly form had been completely intangible. But now, as his hand made contact with Lily's, there was resistance. Not solid, but present. A cold pressure that felt almost real. The werewolves gasped. That's impossible, Ava breathed. Ghosts can't interact physically with the living. The barrier between life and death is weakening, Zane finished, staring at his hand in wonder. Because the curse is changing. Lily's right, cooperation is breaking down the binding, making me more real instead of just a vengeful spirit. Cole's expression shifted from skepticism to calculation. If the curse is truly weakening, if there's a genuine chance to break it. He looked at his pack members. What say you? Do we help the Kane, or do we maintain 200 years of vengeance? I say we help, Nathan said, stepping forward. The young werewolf who'd attacked Lily the previous night looked ashamed. Alpha Zane protected her from me. Ordered me to stand down. If our murdered Alpha thinks she deserves a chance, who are we to disagree? One by one, the other pack members nodded agreement. Finally, Cole sighed. We'll help. But Lily Kane, understand this, if you betray us, if this is some elaborate trick, we will hunt you to the ends of the earth. Curse or no curse. Understood. Lily felt relief flood through her. Thank you. All of you. Don't thank us yet. We still need to figure out how to actually break the curse. Ava pulled out her own research materials, old journals, sketches, documents compiled over generations. My pack has been studying this for 200 years. We know the curse requires both parties to choose differently, but we've never figured out what those choices need to be specifically. I might have an idea, Lily said, pulling up her photos of the basement symbols. The ritual formula includes a reversal clause, only when choice unmakes what choice has made. Benjamin chose to murder. Mara chose to bind. What if we need to make opposite choices in the same location? The basement, Zane said. Where the ritual was performed. Exactly. We recreate the ritual conditions, but instead of blood sacrifice and binding, we choose mercy and release. Lily's mind was racing. Cole, you represent the current Nightshade Pack. I represent the Kane bloodline. Zane is the one bound by the curse. If all three of us choose to let go. It might work, Ava said slowly. The original ritual required the Alpha's death, the witch's power, and the murderer's intent. Reversing it would require the Alpha's consent, spiritual power, and the descendant's repentance. I can provide spiritual power, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see an elderly woman emerging from the fog. She wore traditional witch robes and carried a staff carved with protective symbols. Her eyes were knowing and ancient. Margaret Chen, Lily breathed. You're the witch who contacted me about the inheritance. Your grandmother's old friend, yes. And a practicing witch who's been monitoring this curse for 50 years. Margaret approached the group. I knew eventually a Kane would come who might actually break it. I've been waiting. You're the one who made sure I inherited, Lily realized. You manipulated the legal paperwork to ensure I was the sole heir. Guilty. Your father's will originally left the property to charity. I adjusted it. Margaret's expression was unapologetic. Because you're a historian, Lily. Someone who values truth over comfort. I knew if anyone could work with Zane instead of against him, it would be you. Did you know my grandmother? Zane asked. She died in this house, driven mad by the curse. I tried to help her. Tried to break the binding. But she was too afraid, and you were too angry. The curse fed on that combination. Margaret moved to stand beside Lily. But this time is different. You're both choosing cooperation. And with the pack's help, we might actually succeed. What do we need to do? Cole asked. Return to the basement at midnight tonight, the thinnest point between worlds. I'll create a circle of power. Lily will speak words of repentance on behalf of her ancestors. Zane will choose to forgive and release his binding. And Cole, you'll accept the land on behalf of the Nightshade Pack, completing the transfer of ownership. Margaret's expression was grave. But I should warn you, the curse won't go quietly. It survived for 200 years by feeding on rage and guilt. When we try to break it, it will fight back with everything it has. What kind of fight? Lily asked. Visions. Manifestations of your worst fears. The curse will try to make you doubt, make you angry, make you give up. It'll show Zane the massacre again, show Lily her father's suicide, show Cole his pack's suffering. And if any of you break, if any of you choose rage over forgiveness, the ritual fails and the curse strengthens. So we have to maintain perfect emotional control while reliving our worst traumas, Nathan said. Great. We can do this, Lily said firmly. We have to. Because the alternative is 2 more centuries of suffering for everyone. Zane's ghostly hand found hers again, that almost touch that was becoming more real with every hour. Together, he said. Together, she agreed. They spent the day preparing. Margaret drew protective circles around the basement using salt, iron filings, and herbs that smelled of sage and rosemary. The Nightshade Pack positioned themselves as guards, ensuring no outside interference. And Lily reviewed the ritual formula with Ava, making sure every word was perfect. But as midnight approached, doubt began to creep in. What if it doesn't work? Lily asked Zane as they stood in the basement, waiting for the others to arrive. Then we try again. And again. Until it does work or the curse kills you. His ghostly form was somber. But Lily, I need you to understand something. If this succeeds, if I'm truly released, I move on. To whatever comes after death. I won't be here anymore. I know. And I'm finding that I don't want that. Zane's expression was conflicted. 200 years I've wanted peace, wanted rest, wanted escape from this torture. But now that freedom is possible, all I can think about is that it means losing you. The first person in 2 centuries who's seen me as something other than a monster. You're not a monster. You're a victim. I'm both. The curse made me do terrible things to your family. Made me torment innocent people for crimes they didn't commit. Your father, your grandmother, their blood is on my hands, even if I didn't have a choice. Then breaking the curse is how you make amends. By choosing to stop the cycle of suffering. Lily moved closer to his translucent form. Zane, I know this is complicated. I know we've only known each other for a day. But you've become important to me too. And if breaking the curse means you find peace, then that's what needs to happen. Even if it means saying goodbye. What if I don't want to say goodbye? Then we'll figure something out. Margaret said ghosts can choose to stay if they're not bound by negative energy. Maybe once the curse breaks, you can remain as a friendly spirit instead of a vengeful one. A friendly spirit who watches you live your life, fall in love with someone living, grow old. Zane's laugh was bitter. That sounds like a different kind of torture. Before Lily could respond, footsteps on the stairs announced the arrival of the others. Margaret came first, carrying candles and ritual components. Then Cole and Ava, followed by the rest of the Nightshade Pack forming a protective circle around the basement entrance. It's time, Margaret said, setting up her materials. Everyone in position. Lily stood at the ritual platform center, the same spot where Zane had died 200 years ago. Cole stood to her left, representing the pack. Zane's ghost stood to her right, his form flickering with nervous energy. Margaret began to chant in the same ancient language Mara had used, but the words were different. Inverted. Instead of binding, she spoke of release. Instead of death, she spoke of life. Instead of vengeance, she spoke of peace. Now, Margaret said. Lily, speak your piece. Lily took a breath and spoke the words she'd prepared. I stand here as the last of the Kane bloodline. I acknowledge that my ancestor, Benjamin Kane, committed murder. That he killed innocent people for greed, stole land that was not his, and created suffering that echoed through generations. On behalf of my family, I offer repentance. I return what was stolen. And I choose mercy over the vengeance my family deserves. The air in the basement grew heavy, charged with power. Cole, Margaret prompted. The Alpha stepped forward. I stand here as leader of the Nightshade Pack, descendants of those murdered. I acknowledge the suffering inflicted on my people. The loss, the rage, the desire for revenge that has defined us for 2 centuries. On behalf of my pack, I choose to accept repentance. To reclaim our land through peace rather than violence. And to honor our ancestors by building something new rather than dwelling on what was destroyed. The basement trembled. The curse was responding, fighting back. Zane, Margaret said urgently. Your turn. And it has to be genuine, the curse will know if you're lying. Zane's ghostly form solidified as he spoke. I am Zane, Alpha of the Nightshade Pack. Murdered, bound, forced to haunt for 200 years. I have hated the Kanes. Tormented them. Used my suffering to create more suffering. His voice cracked. But I choose to stop. I choose to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I release my rage. I release my binding. And I choose to let go of the vengeance that has defined my existence. The symbols on the walls began to glow, first red with resistance, then slowly shifting to gold. But then the curse struck back. The basement filled with visions, Zane's pack being slaughtered, Lily's father hanging from a rope, Cole's ancestors dying in agony. The curse was throwing everything it had at them, trying to reignite rage, trying to make them choose vengeance. Don't look. Margaret shouted. Focus on your choices. The curse can only win if you give it power. But it was too much. Lily saw her father's face, heard his last words begging her to stay away from the inheritance. Cole saw his great-grandmother's journals describing the purge, the terror of being hunted. And Zane saw his packmates screaming as silver bullets tore through them. I can't, Cole's voice was breaking. I can't forgive this. They murdered children. You don't have to forgive the crime, Lily gasped, fighting through her own visions. You just have to choose not to let it control you anymore. The curse intensified, and Lily felt it reaching for her mind, trying to drive her mad the way it had driven her father. Trying to make her run, make her break the circle, make her choose self-preservation over redemption. Then Zane's hand, more solid than ever, gripped hers. I'm here, he said. You're not alone. We're doing this together. The touch anchored her. Gave her strength to push back against the visions, to focus on the present instead of the past. Together, she repeated. And suddenly, the basement filled with golden light. The curse shattered like glass, and Lily felt the binding break, not just on Zane, but on the land itself. 200 years of suffering, rage, and vengeance dissolved in an instant, leaving behind only peace. Zane's ghostly form blazed with light so bright Lily had to look away. When she looked back, he was solid. Completely, undeniably solid. What? Zane stared at his hands, now flesh and blood instead of translucent spirit. How is this possible? Margaret's expression was odd. The curse didn't just bind you. It kept you in a state between life and death. Breaking it didn't send you on, it restored you. Made you living again. Zane, dead for 200 years, was alive. And Lily, who'd been preparing to say goodbye to the ghost she'd fallen for, was now staring at a very real, very solid man who was looking at her with wonder and terror and something that looked achingly like love. The silence in the basement was deafening. Zane stood in the center of the ritual circle, staring at his hands, solid, warm, alive. He touched his face, his chest, feeling the heartbeat that shouldn't exist. 200 years dead, and now breathing again. This isn't possible, he whispered. I died. I felt myself die. Benjamin Kane's silver blade through my heart, Mara's magic tearing my soul from my body. I should be gone. The curse preserved you, Margaret said, studying him with professional fascination. Kept your spirit intact, suspended between life and death. When we broke the binding, instead of your soul moving on, it had a body waiting, your original body, preserved by 2 centuries of magical suspension. So I'm alive? Truly alive? Completely. Heart beating, blood flowing, aging normally from this point forward. Margaret checked his pulse, her expression amazed. Zane, you're a werewolf again. Not a ghost, not a spirit. Fully restored. Cole stepped forward cautiously. Alpha Zane. The pack, we thought you were gone forever. But if you're alive, if you've returned. He dropped to one knee. The Nightshade Pack recognizes your authority. You're our true alpha. No. Zane's voice was firm. Cole, you've led this pack for how long? 35 years. 35 years of rebuilding what I lost. 35 years of protecting survivors and making something from nothing. Zane gripped Cole's shoulder. I died 200 years ago. You're the alpha now. I'm just. I don't even know what I am anymore. You're a miracle, Ava said softly. And a complication. Because legally, you never died. You were murdered, but your body was never buried, never officially declared deceased. Which means you technically still own this land, Lily finished, her historian's mind making the connections. Benjamin Kane stole it from you, but that theft was never legally recognized because everyone thought you were dead. If you're alive, you could file a claim. No. Zane looked at Lily, his eyes, now warm brown instead of ghostly blue, holding hers. I made a promise. The pack gets the land. That doesn't change just because I'm mysteriously alive. But the legal transfer was contingent on you being dead, Cole said carefully. If you're alive, you're the rightful owner. Not the pack, not Lily. You. The implications were staggering. Zane, restored to life, was now the legal owner of 500 acres and a cursed mansion. The very thing he'd been bound to for 2 centuries was now his by right. I don't want it, Zane said immediately. I don't want this house, this land, any of it. It's all soaked in blood and suffering. But you can't just give it away, Lily said. Not legally. It would take months of paperwork, court proceedings, and there's no guarantee it would work. Someone could contest the claim, argue you were dead and the land passed to my family legitimately. Then we'll deal with that. Together. Zane moved to stand beside her. Lily, you've spent the past day helping me break a curse that tortured me for 2 centuries. The least I can do is help you navigate supernatural property law. That's assuming the curse is actually broken, Margaret said, examining the symbols on the walls. They'd stopped glowing, but she looked troubled. Something's wrong. What do you mean? We broke it. Zane's alive. Zane's alive, yes. But the curse had multiple layers. We broke his binding, freed him from torment and restored his body. But the land itself. Margaret traced one of the symbols. It's still cursed. Just differently. Explain, Cole demanded. The ritual Benjamin performed had 2 purposes, bind Zane's spirit and claim the land's power. We reversed the first, but the second remains active. This property is still soaked in dark magic, still drawing supernatural threats, still dangerous to anyone who claims it. Margaret's expression was grim. Breaking Zane's curse was the first step. But there's more work to do. Of course there is, Lily muttered. Because nothing can ever be simple. A howl echoed through the forest, distant but urgent. Cole's head snapped toward the sound. That's a warning. Something's approaching the territory. He looked at his pack members. Nathan, Ava, with me. The rest of you, protect the house. They shifted mid-run, transforming into massive wolves that disappeared into the night. And Lily was left alone with Zane, no longer a ghost but a living, breathing man she barely knew despite feeling like she'd known him forever. This is awkward, Zane said finally. Extremely. Lily busied herself gathering the ritual components, needing something to do with her hands. You were dead. Then you were a ghost I was helping. And now you're alive. And standing very close. And looking at me like I've spent 200 years as a spirit and forgot what it feels like to have a body? Zane's voice was rough. Because that's accurate. Every sensation is overwhelming right now. The temperature, the texture of fabric, the sound of my own heartbeat. And you, he stopped himself. Me what? You smell like lavender and old books. I noticed it when I was a ghost, but now it's... He closed his eyes. It's intoxicating. Everything about you is intoxicating. And I don't know if that's because I've been dead for 2 centuries or because you're genuinely the most fascinating person I've ever met. Lily's heart was racing. Zane. I know. This is too fast. Too complicated. You came here to break a curse, not fall for the ghost you freed. He opened his eyes, and the intensity in them made her breath catch. But Lily, I need you to understand something. You've given me my life back. Given me a second chance I never thought I'd have. And I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to help you finish breaking this curse, help the pack reclaim their land, and then... He trailed off. Then what? Then I'm going to court you properly. Take you to dinner, learn everything about you, prove that what I'm feeling isn't just gratitude or 200-year-old loneliness. His smile was nervous and genuine. If you'll let me. Before Lily could answer, Cole burst back into the house, already shifting to human form. We have a problem. A big one. The problem was standing at the edge of the property line. She was ancient, easily as old as Margaret, maybe older, with silver hair and eyes that held malicious intelligence. And she was surrounded by shadows that moved independently, creatures made of darkness that hissed and writhed. That's Cassandra Vale, Margaret breathed. I thought she was dead. Who is she? Lily asked. A dark witch. One of the most powerful in North America. She was Mara Cross's teacher. Margaret's expression was fearful. If she's here. She's here because you broke my student's greatest work, Cassandra called out, her voice carrying across the distance. The curse Mara created was a masterpiece. 200 years of sustained suffering, powered by rage and guilt, feeding dark magic into this land. And you've just destroyed it. Good riddance, Zane shouted back. That curse tormented innocent people. That curse was payment for services rendered. Benjamin Kane hired Mara to bind this land, to make it powerful enough to fuel his fortune. She succeeded brilliantly. And in exchange, he was supposed to maintain the curse, feed it, ensure it lasted forever. Cassandra's smile was cruel. But you've broken it. Which means the contract is void. And I've come to collect the debt Benjamin never paid. Benjamin's been dead for 180 years, Lily said. Whatever debt he owed died with him. Blood debts don't die. They pass down through generations. Cassandra raised her hands, and the shadows around her grew larger. Lily Kane, last of the Kane bloodline, you owe me 200 years of accumulated interest. And I've come to take payment, in blood, in power, in suffering that will make the original curse look merciful. We're not letting you touch her, Cole snarled, his pack forming a protective circle. You're werewolves. Powerful, yes. But you're fighting a witch who's been practicing dark magic for 400 years. You will lose. Cassandra's shadows began to move forward. Stand aside, or be destroyed with her. Wait, Margaret stepped forward. Cassandra, there has to be another way. The girl didn't create the debt. She inherited it. Along with the land, the house, and the curse. And inheritance means responsibility. Cassandra's expression was implacable. You know the laws, Margaret. Blood debts must be paid. Then let me pay it, Zane said, moving to stand in front of Lily. I was part of the original curse. My suffering powered it for 200 years. That should count for something. You were the victim, not the debtor. Your suffering was the fuel, not the payment. Cassandra studied him with interest. Though I'll admit, your resurrection is fascinating. Mara would have been proud to see her work produce such an unexpected result. If you were Mara's teacher, why didn't you intervene when the curse killed her? Lily demanded. Why wait 200 years to collect this debt? Because the curse was supposed to last forever, creating an endless stream of power I could harvest. But you broke it prematurely. Which means I'm owed compensation for lost revenue. Cassandra's shadows crept closer. And I always collect my debts. Lily's mind was racing, looking for options. They couldn't fight a 400-year-old dark witch. Couldn't outrun her shadows. Couldn't protect the property from someone this powerful. But maybe they could negotiate. What if I give you something better than blood payment? Lily said. What could you possibly offer that's better than the suffering of the last Kane? Knowledge. Historical documentation. I'm a researcher, I have access to archives, ancient texts, historical records that most witches would kill for. Lily pulled out her phone, showing recent work. I've uncovered lost grimoires, tracked down forgotten rituals, documented magical practices that were thought destroyed. If you're interested in power and knowledge, I can provide resources that might be worth more than one human's suffering. Cassandra paused, her shadows stopping their advance. You're offering to become my researcher? I'm offering a trade. I find historical magical knowledge for you, and you consider the debt paid. No blood, no suffering, just information exchange. That's not how blood debts work. But it's how contracts work, Margaret interrupted. Cassandra, you're a businesswoman. You deal in trades, in exchanges of value. What Lily's offering is ongoing access to rare historical resources. That could be worth far more than a one-time blood payment. The Dark Witch considered, her ancient eyes calculating. How rare are we talking? I've got documentation on pre-Christian Celtic rituals, records from the Salem witch trials that never made it into official archives, and research on Native American shamanic practices that most scholars think are myths. Lily was making it up as she went, but she did have access to these things through her university connections. I can get you knowledge most witches would consider priceless. Interesting. Cassandra's shadows retreated slightly. But I'd need proof. Bring me something genuinely valuable, and I'll consider reducing the debt. I need time to access my research. You have until the next full moon. 3 weeks. Bring me something that impresses me, or I collect the blood debt in full. Cassandra began to fade into the shadows. And Lily Kane, don't think about running. Blood debts follow their bearers anywhere. There's nowhere you could hide that I wouldn't find you. She vanished, leaving only cold wind and the scent of dark magic. Lily's knees gave out, and Zane caught her before she hit the ground. You just negotiated with a 400-year-old dark witch, he said, sounding odd. That was either brilliant or suicidal. Probably both. Lily's hands were shaking. But I bought us time. 3 weeks to find something that satisfies her debt and keeps her from killing me. 3 weeks to research dark magic while also dealing with supernatural property law and a newly alive werewolf alpha, Cole added. Your life just gets better and better. Story of my existence. Lily looked at Margaret. Can you help me? You know what kind of information would actually impress Cassandra. I can try. But Lily, you need to understand, Cassandra doesn't just want knowledge. She wants power. Whatever you give her will be used to increase her magical strength. You could be making her more dangerous. And if I don't give her anything, she'll kill me and the debt still goes unpaid. So I'll take my chances with making her more knowledgeable over being dead. Zane's arms were still around her, solid and warm and real. We'll figure this out. Together. You keep saying that. Because I mean it. He helped her stand, his touch lingering. Lily, I've spent 200 years trapped by one curse. I'm not letting another one take you. Whatever it takes to satisfy Cassandra's debt, we'll find it. Even if it means helping a dark witch become more powerful. Even then. Because the alternative is losing you, and I've just gotten you. I'm not giving that up without a fight. The way he looked at her, protective, determined, and something deeper, made Lily's heart race in ways that had nothing to do with fear. We should probably talk about this, she said quietly, aware that Cole, Ava, and the pack were watching with varying degrees of interest. About what you are now, what I am, what we. Later, Zane agreed. When we're not dealing with multiple supernatural crises. But Lily, just so you know, I meant what I said. About courting you properly. About not wasting this second chance. You're 200 years old. 233, technically. But I've only been alive for about an hour of that. So emotionally, I'm basically a newborn. A very confused newborn who knows he wants to spend time with the woman who freed him from eternal torment. Despite everything, Lily laughed. That's the worst pickup line I've ever heard. I'm out of practice. I've been dead for 2 centuries. Fair point. Cole cleared his throat. As touching as this is, we need to discuss practical matters. The land curse is still active. Cassandra is hunting Lily. And we still haven't resolved the property ownership issue. I suggest we all get some sleep and reconvene in the morning with clearer heads. Agreed, Margaret said. Lily, you should stay in the house, it's still the safest place despite everything. Zane, you're welcome to stay as well, now that you're corporeal. I don't think I could leave even if I wanted to, Zane admitted. This land feels like home, even after everything that happened here. As the pack dispersed and Margaret headed to her car, Lily and Zane were left alone in the cursed mansion. So, Lily said awkwardly. Do ghosts turn living werewolves need to sleep? I have no idea. I haven't slept in 200 years. Zane looked around the house with new eyes. Everything looks different now. More real. Less like a prison. Breaking the curse probably helped with that. Breaking the curse definitely helped. But also. He turned to her. Also, having someone here who doesn't fear me. Who sees me as a person instead of a monster. That changes how the space feels. They stood in the dusty foyer, and Lily was acutely aware of how alone they were. How Zane was no longer a ghost she couldn't touch but a living man standing close enough that she could feel his warmth. I should probably go to bed, she said, not moving. Probably. He didn't move either. We have a lot to deal with tomorrow. Cassandra's debt, the land curse, property law. All very important. Zane's hand reached toward her face, hesitant. Can I? Yes. He touched her cheek, fully, completely, the first real touch they'd shared. His hand was warm, calloused, trembling slightly with nervousness. You're real, Lily whispered. So are you. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I watched you for hours before you could see me. When you first arrived, I was planning all the ways I'd torment you. But then you started talking to me like I was a person. Started trying to understand instead of just being afraid. And everything I thought I knew about Kane's fell apart. I'm not like my ancestors. No. You're nothing like them. Zane's other hand came up to frame her face. You're brave and brilliant and stubborn and absolutely maddening. And I think I started falling for you the moment you offered to help me instead of running. That was less than 2 days ago. I've been dead for 200 years. I'm allowed to move fast. His smile was nervous. But Lily, if this is too much, if you need space. She kissed him. It was impulsive, reckless, and absolutely perfect. His lips were warm against hers, and for a moment, all the chaos, the curses, the debts, the supernatural threats, faded into background noise. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Zane was staring at her with wonder. That was. He seemed unable to finish the sentence. Too fast. Lily asked nervously. Perfect. That was perfect. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. But probably a bad idea, given everything we're dealing with. Terrible idea. We should definitely stop. Neither of them moved. Outside, shadows gathered at the edge of the property. Cassandra's, watching and waiting. But there were other shadows too. Older, darker, drawn by the broken curse and the power vacuum it had created. The land might be free of Zane's binding, but it was still cursed. Still dangerous. Still hiding secrets that 200 years hadn't been enough to bury. And tomorrow, Lily and Zane would have to face all of it. But for tonight, they had this, a moment of peace in the center of chaos. A connection that had started with haunting and transformed into something that might actually save them both. Lily woke to screaming. She bolted upright in bed, disoriented in the unfamiliar room. Then she remembered, the mansion, the curse, Zane alive and solid and sleeping in the guest room down the hall. Except the screaming was coming from that direction. She ran barefoot through the corridor, throwing open the guest room door to find Zane thrashing on the bed, caught in a nightmare so intense his werewolf nature was surfacing. His eyes blazed amber, claws extended, and the air around him crackled with supernatural energy. Zane. Lily approached cautiously. Wake up. He didn't respond, trapped in whatever horror his sleeping mind was showing him. She could hear him muttering, names she recognized from his pack members, pleas for them to run, desperate apologies for failing to protect them. It's just a dream, she said, sitting on the edge of the bed. Zane, you're safe. Your pack is safe. It's over. Her hand touched his shoulder, and he jerked awake, fully shifted now, more wolf than man, instinct screaming danger. His claws came up defensively, stopping inches from her throat. Then recognition flooded his eyes. Lily. He shifted back immediately, horror replacing the predatory glare. I could have killed you. But you didn't. You stopped. She didn't move away despite her racing heart. Bad dream? The massacre. I keep seeing it. Hearing their screams. Smelling the silver and blood. His hands were shaking. When I was a ghost, I couldn't sleep, couldn't dream. Now that I'm alive again, my mind is replaying 200 years of trauma all at once. That's going to take time to process. Lily found his hand, grounding him with touch. You died violently, spent centuries in torment, and then got resurrected yesterday. It's okay to not be okay. I'm supposed to be an alpha. Supposed to be strong. Being strong doesn't mean pretending trauma didn't happen. She squeezed his hand. And you're not alone anymore. Whatever you're dealing with, we face it together. Remember? Zane pulled her into his arms, burying his face in her hair. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and this will be a dream. That I'm still a ghost, still trapped, and you're just another Kane I'm tormenting. You're awake. You're alive. And I'm very real. Lily held him tight. And we're going to get through this. They sat like that until his heartbeat slowed, until the supernatural energy dissipated, until he was just a man holding someone he cared about. Then Lily's phone rang. She grabbed it from her pocket, seeing an unknown number. Hello? Miss Kane. The voice was cold, professional. This is Detective Harrison with Seattle PD. We need to discuss your father's death. Lily's blood turned to ice. Her father had died 10 years ago, ruled a suicide. Why are you calling about this now? Because new evidence suggests it wasn't suicide. We've reopened the case as a homicide investigation. And you're a person of interest. That's insane. I was 18 and in college when he died. I had nothing to do with. Nevertheless, we need you to come in for questioning. Today, if possible. Harrison's tone suggested it wasn't optional. We'll be at your current address within the hour. The line went dead. Lily stared at her phone in shock. They think I killed my father. That's ridiculous, Zane said immediately. You loved him. You've been trying to break the curse that drove him to suicide. But the police don't know about the curse. They don't know about supernatural influence. All they see is a daughter who inherited everything after her father's convenient death. Lily's mind was racing. Someone sent them evidence. Someone wants me investigated. Cassandra, Zane growled. She's applying pressure. Making your life difficult so you're more likely to give her what she wants. Or it's someone else entirely. Lily pulled up her research on her laptop. Margaret said the land curse is still active, still drawing supernatural threats. What if one of those threats wants me gone so they can claim the property? Before Zane could respond, windows shattered downstairs. They ran to find Cole and 3 pack members in the foyer, all bloodied and barely standing. We were attacked, Cole gasped. Vampires. At least 20 of them, led by someone calling himself Victor Ashford. He says this land is vampire territory, that it was before the werewolves claimed it, and he wants it back. How many territories can one piece of land have? Lily muttered. It's the magic, Margaret said, appearing at the front door. The dark magic Benjamin used to amplify the land's power. It's created a beacon that every supernatural faction can sense. Vampires, werewolves, witches, everyone wants it because it's saturated with old power. So breaking Zane's curse didn't solve anything. It just opened the floodgates for every supernatural being to fight over this property. Lily felt overwhelmed. Police investigating me for murder, Cassandra demanding payment, vampires attacking the pack, and we still haven't figured out how to break the actual land curse. Then we prioritize, Zane said firmly. Margaret, you handle the police, use magic if necessary to make them lose interest in the investigation. Cole, coordinate with your pack to defend against vampire incursions. And Lily and I will focus on researching how to break the land curse permanently. That's a lot to handle, Cole said doubtfully. We don't have a choice. We either handle it all, or we lose everything. Zane's alpha authority was surfacing despite his earlier claim that Cole was the pack leader. The police arrive in less than an hour. We need to move fast. Margaret began preparing spells to cloud police memory and redirect their investigation. Cole's pack members shifted to patrol the property borders. And Lily and Zane descended once more into the basement, the heart of the curse they still needed to break. There has to be something we missed, Lily said, examining the symbols again. Some clue about how Benjamin actually cursed the land itself. The graveyard, Zane said suddenly. You mentioned 13 graves. My pack members buried without ceremony. What if their bodies are still anchoring the curse? That would make sense. Blood magic requires physical components, bodies, bones, items of power. Lily grabbed her camera. We need to examine those graves. They headed outside to where 13 stone markers stood in the shadow of the forest. Unlike the mansion, which looked Victorian and maintained, the graveyard was wild, overgrown with thorny bushes and surrounded by trees that seemed to lean inward protectively. This is wrong, Zane said, his werewolf senses picking up something Lily couldn't detect. The graves feel active. Like something is still using them. Lily knelt beside the first marker, reading the name carved into stone, Sarah Nightshade, age 16. Beloved daughter. She was my beta's child, Zane's voice was thick with grief. Just learned to shift. She had her whole life ahead of her. The next grave, Michael Nightshade, age 35. Devoted father. Then another, Emma Nightshade, age 8. 8 years old. A child murdered for Benjamin Kane's greed. They're still here, Zane said, and Lily realized he wasn't talking about the bodies. They're spirits. I can feel them. They're trapped just like I was, but differently. Bound to the land itself rather than to my haunting. So breaking your curse didn't free them, Lily said, horror dawning. They're still suffering. Still bound. Which means the land curse isn't just about power. It's about 13 souls trapped in eternal torment, their suffering feeding magic into the property. Zane's eyes blazed with fury. Benjamin didn't just murder them. He turned them into batteries. Endless sources of supernatural energy. Then to break the land curse, we need to free their spirits. Lily pulled out her research. But that requires a release ritual similar to what we did for you. Except 13 times more complex, because we're freeing multiple souls simultaneously. Can Margaret do it? I don't know. We'd need. A scream cut through the air. Human, terrified, coming from the house. They ran back to find police cars in the driveway, and Detective Harrison holding Margaret at gunpoint while 2 other officers searched the mansion. Step away from the witch, Harrison said calmly. And Miss Kane, you're under arrest for the murder of your father and suspected involvement in occult activities. What? Lily's mind reeled. I told you, I was in college when. We found your DNA on the rope he used to hang himself. Recent DNA, not from 10 years ago. And surveillance footage from your university showing you weren't in class the day he died, despite your alibi claiming otherwise. Harrison's eyes were cold. Care to explain how you murdered your father and then used magic to cover it up? That's impossible. The DNA, someone planted it. The footage is conclusive. You're coming with us. Harrison gestured to the other officers. And we're confiscating all materials related to occult practices. This entire property is now a crime scene. Lily saw Margaret's expression, trapped, unable to use magic with a gun to her head without making everything worse. Saw Zane calculating whether he could shift fast enough to disarm the detective. Saw Cole and the pack too far away to intervene without getting shot. They'd been outmaneuvered. I'll go quietly, Lily said, making the only choice available. Just don't hurt anyone. Smart decision. Harrison moved to handcuff her, and Lily met Zane's eyes. Break the land curse, she mouthed. Free the 13. He nodded, understanding. If she was arrested, he'd have to continue the work alone. As Harrison led her to the police car, Lily's phone buzzed one final time. A message from Cassandra, 2 weeks left. And now you'll be spending it in jail, unable to research anything. I do hope this motivates you to reconsider my generous offer. The Dark Witch had orchestrated everything, the police investigation, the planted evidence, the timing designed to maximize pressure. And Lily was powerless to fight back. As the police car drove away with her in handcuffs, as Zane stood helpless watching his only ally being taken, as 13 trapped spirits screamed silently from their graves, the darkest hour had arrived. And breaking free would require sacrifices none of them were prepared to make. Zane stood in the empty mansion, rage and helplessness warring inside him. Lily was gone. Arrested for a murder Cassandra had clearly framed her for. And he had no idea how to help her without exposing the supernatural world or making everything worse. We need a plan, Margaret said, rubbing her throat where Harrison's gun had pressed. Cassandra has backed us into a corner. But she's also shown her hand, she wants Lily desperate enough to give her anything. Then we give her nothing, Zane growled. We break the land curse, free the 13 spirits, and remove the power source Cassandra actually wants. Without the cursed land's magic, she loses interest. Breaking the curse requires a massive ritual. One that needs Lily present as the Kane descendant. Margaret pulled out her spell components. Unless what? Unless we use you instead. You're alive again, your DNA is werewolf, but your soul carries 200 years of connection to this land. You might be able to substitute for Lily in the ritual. Would it work? 50-50 chance. And if it fails, you could die permanently this time. No resurrection, no second chances. Margaret's expression was grave. But it's the only option if we want to help Lily. Cole appeared in the doorway. The vampires are regrouping. Victor says he'll attack at dawn unless we surrender the property. How many vampires? At least 50. Maybe more. Cole's jaw was tight. We can't fight that many and win. Then we don't fight them. Zane's mind was calculating rapidly. We invite them to the ritual. What? Vampires want the land's power. Werewolves want it. Witches want it. But what if we destroy that power entirely? Make the land worthless to everyone? Zane moved to the window. We gather every faction that wants this property, and we perform the ritual in front of all of them. Show them that the curse is breaking, the magic is dying, and fighting over it is pointless. That's insane, Cole said. That's the only way this ends without more bloodshed. Zane turned to Margaret. Can you contact Victor? Cassandra? Every supernatural faction with an interest in this land? I can try. But Zane, they'll all be watching for any sign of weakness. If the ritual fails, then we improvise. But Margaret, I'm not letting Lily rot in jail for a crime she didn't commit. And I'm not letting 13 souls suffer for another day because I'm afraid of risk. His eyes blazed amber. 200 years I was trapped. I know what that feels like. I'm not leaving anyone else in that torment. Margaret studied him, then nodded. All right. I'll send the invitations. But we need to move fast, the ritual requires a full moon, and that's tonight. We have 8 hours to prepare. Then let's get started. In the Seattle jail, Lily sat in an interrogation room, mind racing through legal options. She had one phone call. Who could she contact who'd believe the truth about supernatural curses and dark witch manipulation? The answer was no one. Miss Kane. Detective Harrison entered with a thick file. We've been investigating your family history. And we've found some very disturbing patterns. Such as every Kane who's owned that property for the past 200 years has died under suspicious circumstances. Madness, suicide, accidents, all conveniently allowing the next family member to inherit. Harrison opened the file. Your great-grandfather died in a fire he supposedly started himself. Your grandmother had a heart attack at 43 despite perfect health. Your father hanged himself. And now you're the sole heir. quite a coincidence. It's a curse, not a conspiracy. Curses aren't real, Miss Kane. But insurance fraud, inheritance schemes, and familial murder patterns very much are. Harrison leaned forward. Here's what I think happened. Your family discovered that property generates unusual revenue, whether through natural resources, illegal activities, or something else. And each generation has been willing to kill to maintain control. That's not. Your father was going to sell the property. We found preliminary real estate contracts in his papers. But then he died, and the sale never happened. You inherited everything. Harrison's eyes were hard. Convenient timing. Lily felt trapped. The truth, supernatural curses, dark magic, vengeful ghosts, would make her sound insane. But lying would only make the evidence look worse. I want a lawyer, she said finally. Of course. But Miss Kane, you should know, we're also investigating your relationship with a man named Zane. Multiple witnesses report seeing you with him, but he has no legal identity, no paper trail, no evidence he exists. Who is he really? An accomplice? A cult leader? Someone helping you perpetuate your family's criminal enterprise? He's none of those things. Then what is he? A ghost brought back to life. A werewolf alpha murdered 200 years ago. The man she was falling in love with despite every rational reason not to. He's someone trying to help me fix my family's mistakes, Lily said quietly. That's all. Harrison didn't look convinced. We'll see what your lawyer says. He left, and Lily was alone with her thoughts and the crushing weight of impossible situations. Then her phone, which somehow they'd let her keep, buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The ritual happens tonight. Full moon. If you want to help, find a way to be there. M. Margaret. Giving her a choice. Stay in jail, let the legal system slowly destroy her life. Or break out, participate in a dangerous ritual, and risk making everything worse. It wasn't really a choice at all. Lily closed her eyes, and for the first time in her life, she prayed. Not to God or any deity, to the 13 spirits trapped in those graves. To Sarah, Michael, Emma, and the others who'd suffered for 2 centuries. Help me get to you, she thought. I promise I'll free you. Just help me get there. The lights in the interrogation room flickered. Then went out completely. And in the darkness, Lily heard a young girl's voice, run. We'll help you run. When the lights came back on, the door was unlocked. The hallway cameras were sparking with electrical failures. And the path to the exit was mysteriously clear of guards. The 13 spirits, even trapped and suffering, were helping her. Lily ran. By the time she reached the mansion, stealing a car, driving recklessly, breaking at least 15 laws, the moon was rising and the ritual circle was prepared. But she wasn't prepared for what she saw. 50 vampires stood on one side of the property. 30 werewolves on the other. Cassandra and 5 other witches occupied the center. And in the middle of it all, Zane stood in the ritual circle with Margaret, preparing to sacrifice himself to break the curse. Stop. Lily ran forward. Don't do this. Zane's face flooded with relief and terror. You're supposed to be in jail. The 13 helped me escape. They want to be freed. She moved into the circle. And we're doing this together. No sacrifices, no substitutions. We do this right. The police will be looking for you. Let them look. This is more important. Lily took his hand. Besides, I'm already a fugitive. Might as well make it count. Margaret smiled. Then let's begin. Everyone here, vampires, werewolves, witches, witness what happens when greed and murder infect sacred land. Witness the price of dark magic. And witness how we break it. She began the incantation, and the graves of the 13 began to glow. Spirits rose, translucent, pain-filled, trapped for 2 centuries. Sarah, Michael, Emma, and 10 others. All murdered. All suffering. We acknowledge your pain, Lily said, speaking the words Margaret had taught her. We acknowledge the injustice of your deaths. We acknowledge that Benjamin Kane and my family profited from your suffering. And we release you, Zane added. No more chains. No more torment. Your deaths will be remembered, your lives will be honored, and your spirits will finally find peace. The moonlight intensified, and Margaret's magic wove through the air like silver thread, cutting the bonds that held the 13 spirits to the land. But Cassandra stepped forward. I won't allow this. That magic is mine by contract. The contract was with Benjamin Kane, and he's dead, Margaret shot back. Blood debts die with the debtor. Not when his descendant stands right there. Cassandra's shadows rushed toward Lily. But the 13 spirits intercepted, forming a protective barrier. We choose to forgive, Sarah's ghost said, her young voice carrying unexpected power. We choose to release the Kanes from blood guilt. We choose peace over vengeance. No. Cassandra's magic exploded outward, trying to force the binding to hold. But it was too late. The 13 had chosen. And their choice unmade what 2 centuries of suffering had created. The land curse shattered like glass. Magic rushed out of the property in a visible wave, spreading across the forest and dissipating into the night. The graves stopped glowing. The oppressive weight that had hung over the mansion for 200 years simply disappeared. And the 13 spirits began to fade, finally free. Thank you, Emma's small voice said to Lily. For remembering us. For making our deaths matter. Then they were gone, leaving only peace behind. Cassandra screamed in fury as her power source vanished. Without the cursed land's magic, she was just an old witch, powerful, but not unstoppable. This isn't over, she snarled at Lily. Yes, it is, Margaret said firmly. The debt is paid through the spirit's forgiveness. You have no legal claim on Lily Kane. Leave, before I report you to the Witch Council for contract fraud. Cassandra glared, but retreated into the shadows with her coven. The vampires, seeing the magic dissipate, lost interest and departed. The werewolves remained, but their posture shifted from aggressive to protective. And Lily collapsed into Zane's arms, exhausted and overwhelmed. It's over, she whispered. It's really over. Not quite, Cole said, approaching with a folder. The legal matters still need resolution. But Lily, in light of the curse being broken and the property no longer holding supernatural significance, the Nightshade Pack is willing to make a formal agreement. We'll purchase the land at fair market value. You use the money to clear your legal troubles and start fresh. Everyone wins. You do that? The curse is broken. The spirits are free. That's all we really wanted, justice for our ancestors and an end to the suffering. Cole's expression was sincere. Keeping you trapped here or fighting over worthless land doesn't honor their memory. Building something new does. Lily felt tears streaming down her face. Thank you. 3 months later. Lily stood in her new apartment in Portland, boxes still unpacked, starting a new life far from the cursed mansion. The legal charges had been dropped after Margaret used magic to reveal Cassandra's manipulation. The property had sold to the Nightshade Pack for enough money to pay off debts and fund Lily's research career. And she'd published a comprehensive historical account of the Nightshade Pack massacre, ensuring the 13 would be remembered as victims of genocide rather than forgotten casualties. A knock on the door. She opened it to find Zane, holding flowers and looking nervous. Still doing the courting thing, he said with a shy smile. Is that okay? Very okay. She pulled him inside. Though you know you don't have to keep doing grand gestures. You already saved my life, helped break 2 curses, and fought off vampires for me. I know. But I like grand gestures. And I like you. And I have 200 years of not being able to date to make up for. He handed her the flowers. So, Lily Kane, brilliant historian and cursebreaker, would you have dinner with me tonight? I would love to. She kissed him, and it still felt like magic, not the dark, cursed kind, but the genuine, chosen kind. Though I should warn you, I'm already planning my next research project. dare I ask? Pre-colonial werewolf territories in the Pacific Northwest. I want to document the packs that existed before European expansion, preserve their histories before they're lost. Her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. And I was hoping I could interview you about the Nightshade Pack's traditions. You know, for academic purposes. Academic purposes. Right. Zane's smile was warm. I think I can arrange that. Though it might take multiple sessions. Detailed interviews. Possibly over candlelit dinners. That sounds very thorough. I'm nothing if not thorough. They kissed again, and Lily thought about everything that had led to this moment. The curse, the fear, the impossible choices. But also the courage, the love, and the proof that sometimes, the darkest inheritances could be transformed into something beautiful. She'd inherited her ancestor's curse. But she'd also inherited the strength to break it. And in the process, she'd found something worth more than any cursed land, a partner who'd stood beside her through impossible trials, who'd chosen her just as she'd chosen him. Not destiny. Not fate. Just choice. The best kind of magic there was. Thank you so much for experiencing Lily and Zane's journey. If this story gave you all the feels, drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. And subscribe to Silver Moon Chronicles for more supernatural romance that'll keep you up all night. Until next time, stay brave, stay curious, and remember, the best way to break a curse is to face it head-on with someone who believes in you.